Let me begin by saying thank you to all the thousands of kind people who have sent me messages of goodwill. This is a happy day for me, but it is also one that brings serious thoughts of life looming ahead with all its challenges and with all its opportunity.
Queen Elizabeth II died peacefully on the 8th of September 2022 at Balmoral Castle, Scotland, at the age of 96. News of her passing stunned the world. Instantly, scenes of mourning and tribute appeared on every continent. People laid flowers at her palaces, and national flags flew at half-mast. World leaders poured out praise for her lifetime of service. U.S. President Joe Biden called her a steadying presence and a source of comfort and pride for generations. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres hailed her for grace, dignity, and dedication, recalling how she was a reassuring figure through decades of sweeping change. The Windsor family announced that her reign of 70 years and 214 days was the longest of any British monarch. Whether across the United Kingdom, the Commonwealth, or beyond, many now feel the world has lost a symbol of stability and tradition. If you honor Queen Elizabeth's legacy and love exploring history, make sure to subscribe and join us for more stories from the past. This video will tell the full story of how Princess Elizabeth became queen, her early life, her triumphs and trials as monarch, and why her passing marked the end of an era. Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Windsor was born on April 21, 1926, in Mayfair, London. She was the eldest child of the Duke and Duchess of York, later King George VI, and Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. At the time of her birth, she was third in line to the throne, behind her uncle Edward, the Prince of Wales, and her father. But in December 1936, everything changed when King Edward VIII abdicated to marry Wallis Simpson. Elizabeth's father became King George VI, and, at just 10 years old, Princess Elizabeth became heir presumptive. Overnight, her quiet childhood gave way to intense public interest. To prepare for her future role, she began studying constitutional history, law, and languages under private tutors, and even received tuition from her father and from the Archbishop of Canterbury on religion. During World War II, Elizabeth's life shifted again. In 1940, at the height of the Blitz, she and her younger sister Margaret were sent to Windsor Castle for safety. There, the princesses continued their education at home, lived under rationing, and even drilled for air raids, just like any other British child. Despite the war, Elizabeth enjoyed simple childhood pleasures too. As a teenager, she learned to swim and ride horses, and even took part in giving horse rides to disabled children. At age 16, she was given a small Welsh cottage, Ai Bwthenbach, as a gift, where she played happily. Remarkably, the wartime years saw Elizabeth embrace active service. In 1944, when she turned 18, she insisted on joining the war effort. She enlisted in the Auxiliary Territorial Service as a volunteer, making her the first female member of the royal family to serve in the military. She trained as a mechanic and heavy driver, becoming known in the press as a truck-driving princess. In April 1945, she qualified as a second subaltern, a junior officer, and later was promoted to junior commander. Her decision was widely admired at home. She demonstrated that, even as heir to the throne, she was eager to do her part. Churchill and the public praised her for learning to fix engines and drive an army lorry. By war's end, Elizabeth had grown from a sheltered child into a poised young woman. The wartime challenges, evacuation, rationing, her own service, taught her responsibility and humility. She emerged with a stronger sense of duty that would shape her outlook as queen. Elizabeth II was a global monarch as well. As the head of the Commonwealth, a group of nations formerly part of the British Empire, she worked to keep ties across continents. When she began, the Commonwealth had only 7 nations. By 2022, it had grown to 56 member countries and over 2.5 billion people. Elizabeth made hundreds of overseas tours to foster goodwill. She undertook over 200 visits to Commonwealth countries during her reign. She visited Canada 12 times, helped open national landmarks such as Sydney Opera House in 1973, and attended numerous Commonwealth Games and conferences. Beyond the Commonwealth, the Queen undertook many state visits and trips. She was the first British monarch to visit Australia in 1954, New Zealand, Pakistan, and several African nations. Through these tours and countless receptions, she did informal diplomacy. This quietly reinforced ties between Britain and the wider world. She regularly hosted foreign heads of state on official visits. Even world powers like France, India, South Africa, and the US regarded her as a respected elder statesperson. Her ubiquity on the world stage became almost legendary. She holds the record for world travel by a monarch. She and Prince Philip traveled to 117 countries over her reign, more than any other monarch in history. In meeting post-war presidents and prime ministers, she bridged 2 centuries of history. She met President Truman as a princess, and decades later entertained President Joe Biden. Queen Elizabeth became more than a political figure. She was a global cultural icon. Her likeness appeared on countless banknotes, coins, and stamps. In Britain alone, about 4.5 billion sterling banknotes featuring her portrait were in circulation. She also graced the currency of many other countries, especially in the Commonwealth. Her voice and image reached people every Christmas. Beginning in 1952, she recorded an annual Christmas Day broadcast. Millions tuned in as the Queen spoke directly to the public on air, reflecting on global events or personal moments. Over the decades, these Christmas messages became a chronicle of the times. Her larger-than-life status even spilled into entertainment. In 2012, at the London Olympics opening ceremony, she made a surprise cameo alongside James Bond, a short film sequence that became world famous. In 2017, she had a brief skit with Paddington Bear on Christmas television, further showing her playful public image. Across these various media, the Queen projected an image of continuity. Tourists see her face on souvenir plates, postcards, and memorabilia worldwide. As one commentator noted, she was the grandmother of our country, an embodiment of a Britain that many nostalgically remember. The Queen's reign was not without difficulty. Princess Diana's breakup with Prince Charles and subsequent death in 1997 was a national tragedy. The Queen's initial silence in the days after Diana's death provoked public anger. Eventually, Elizabeth bowed to the pressure. She appeared in person viewing floral tributes and delivered a rare televised address as your Queen and as a grandmother, paying tribute to Diana's warmth and kindness. At Diana's funeral, Elizabeth lowered her head to the casket, a simple act that broke the wave of anger and allowed public grief to find closure. Later challenges came in the form of scandal and tension. In 2019 to 2022, Prince Andrew faced allegations related to his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. To protect the monarchy's image, the Queen took the extraordinary step in January 2022 of stripping Andrew of all his honorary military titles and royal patronages. More recently, the exit of her grandson Prince Harry and his wife Meghan, and the explosive claims they made in 2021 presented a different kind of challenge. In response, the Queen stuck to her principle of not airing family disputes in public. Buckingham Palace released a statement on her behalf, emphasizing unity. The whole family is saddened, and noted that the issues are taken very seriously and will be addressed by the family privately. Crucially, the statement added, Harry, Meghan, and Archie will always be much-loved family members. In her later years, the Queen's health began to slow, but she remained the nation's steady matriarch. In June 2022, she celebrated her Platinum Jubilee, marking 70 years on the throne, a milestone unmatched in British history. Public celebrations filled the streets with parades and big lunches in her honor. Even as age slowed her pace, the Queen continued to engage in public duties when possible. In September 2022, despite mobility issues, she held audience at Balmoral with outgoing Prime Minister Boris Johnson, and then greeted incoming PM Liz Truss, making Truss her 15th appointed Prime Minister. On Thursday, 8th September 2022, Elizabeth II died peacefully at Balmoral, surrounded by family. Her 70-year reign, the longest in British history, had finally come to a close. The world entered an official period of mourning. Tens of thousands queued to pay respects at her coffin as it lay in state. The state funeral took place on Monday, 19th of September 2022 at Westminster Abbey. It was a profound national ritual. Drums rolled, bells tolled, and the Abbey filled with heads of state and thousands of citizens. Around the world, millions watched live coverage of the service, honoring her lifelong service. Queen Elizabeth II's legacy is vast and enduring. No British monarch before her had reigned so long or as steadily. She will be remembered foremost for her stability and sense of duty. Through wars, political upheavals, and social change, her calm presence provided a reassuring continuity. She was widely respected for remaining above party politics and serving all factions equally. Her impact stretched beyond politics. Culturally, she helped define the modern image of monarchy. She oversaw the transformation of the British Empire into the Commonwealth of Nations, acting as a national cement that held diverse countries together. Statues, parks, and programs named in her honor will keep her memory alive. In sum, Elizabeth II's reign spanned one of the most transformative periods in modern history. From dispatching Churchill to greeting Biden, from rationing and radio to global television and the internet, she stood at the center of it all. Yet her legacy is firmly written. As King Charles III said, she leaves behind extraordinary reign and remarkable life of service. Queen Elizabeth II's story is one of duty, resilience, and service. She became a symbol far larger than herself, a living link to history who guided her nation through peace and conflict, joy and sorrow. Her death did not just close a chapter of British history, it closed an entire book. But in remembering her life, we also remember the values she embodied: steadfastness, grace under pressure, and a deep sense of responsibility. If you were moved by Queen Elizabeth's story and want to honor her legacy, subscribe to The Forgotten Files for more historical narratives and documentaries. Thank you for watching. We'll continue to explore the figures and events that shaped our world's past.